All right. So the first question is, dear Bhante, during meditation, how does one know if and when the hindrances are being abandoned? Can you please explain this? How do you know if the hindrances are abandoned during meditation?
Actually, if you are in meditation, if there are no hindrances, you don't have to worry about, don't try to bring them into your mind. Uh, for instance, greed is not in the mind, resentment is not in the mind, you are not sleepy and drowsy, and you are not restless, you don't have any doubt in your mind. Mind is very clear, and your attention is very clear, and you experience rising and falling of your breath, and you experience peaceful peace. Uh, at that time, there are no hindrances. Only when hindrances arises, you certainly notice all of a sudden you remember ice cream. Greed arises. Then you know that that hindrance is aversion. Then you try to get rid of that hindrance, making effort, thinking of the drawback of this desire, and you have to talk to you. I have eaten ice cream for many times. This time I don't want to think about it. Let it go. Moreover, if I eat ice cream, it brings a lot of sugar. My mind become restless and so forth and so on. You advise yourself and get rid of that hindrance. Or if you remember some conversation, argument, somebody who has done something to you to hurt you, said something to hurt you, and so forth, something you remember to make you angry. So you resent it, you don't like it, and at that time you talk to yourself to get rid of that anger, and so forth. As soon as any of those hindrances arises in your mind, you immediately know it. Otherwise, if none of them arises, you know that no hindrances are in your mind. Very simple. Okay?
Okay. Next question, Bhante. Uh, dear Bhante, karma is individual and purification is individual. That individual looks a lot like a self to me. Can you please help me understand?
Karma is individual, and then what else said?
Purification, the purification of the mind is also individual.
Right?
But yeah, and the question is this concept of individual that looks a lot like self. Can you please explain this?
I see. Karma is individual, surely experience results also individual, and at that time you don't have to introduce new concept called self. Self is another concept that arises in the mind. Karma is not a self. Karma is the result of karma is the commitment of certain thoughts, words, deeds with intention. you intend to say something not true, that is unwholesome karma. You intend to hurt somebody or something, that is unwholesome karma. So this is mental formation. Mind generates it. However, that karma, if you don't execute at that time, if you don't implement it, at that moment it fades away, and then you may commit another mental state, wholesome karma. Wholesome karma, intentionally you cultivate metta. Intentionally you practice patience. Intentionally you practice mindfulness, concentration, and so on. They are all wholesome karmas. Now, if you bring self or soul into that, then you damage your wholesome karma by generating unreal thought, thought of incorrect thought that itself becomes unwholesome. However, if you do not keep thinking of a permanent self at that time, that whatever arises passes away, and then immediately you get rid of that unwholesome karma. So you can immediately become aware, mindful, to let it go. So that way you don't accumulate or collect unwholesome karmic force in you. Therefore, you see the causes and conditions coming together to generate certain thoughts. At the same time, if you generate the opposite causes and conditions, that particular mental state slowly evaporates, dissolves, and disappears from your mind. So that is how we train the mind to get rid of some kind of mental states and develop another kind of mental state. It is through perception, it is through training, we get rid of certain unwholesome states and develop wholesome states. Out of these two, if you keep repeating this, you also will be able to get rid of your karma completely through right understanding. That I mentioned some times ago, that is karma kaya jnana. That is the knowledge of destruction of karma. Karma kaya, kaya means fading away, destruction, destroying. So when through right understanding you can liberate yourself from committing karma. But don't try to think that there is some permanent eternal entity somewhere that orders you, forces you to commit karma. Okay?
Okay, Bhante, next question. Bhante, yesterday you mentioned that regret or remorse may enter the mind during meditation. What is the best way to deal with this? What's the best way to deal with regret or remorse during meditation?
Right. Regret and remorse is caused by something that one has done incorrectly, unethically, immorally. Therefore, in order to get rid of that at that moment, one must understand, well, under certain circumstances, due to certain mental states, due to certain situations, such and such thing happen, and now I am in a very wholesome practice. We are practicing I am practicing meditation to clean my mind, purify the mind, as we mentioned mentioned in one of the earlier talks, that one of the purposes of meditation is the purification of mind. Sattanang Visuddhya. We practice meditation to purify mind. When remorse arises, we must talk to ourselves now. What has happened in the past is gone. It is no longer here. I don't have to keep repeating, recalling that, refreshing the past. It is already gone. And this is exactly what the Buddha mentioned in Bhante Karatta Sutta, Atitang Nānvāgameya, Nappatikanke Anāgatang, Yadatitam Pahinantang, Appattancha Anāgatang, Paccupannancha Yodhammang Tatta Tatta Vipassati, Asanghirang Asankuppang Tang Viddha Manubhuru, and so forth. The past is gone, finished, and I don't have to renew the past, I don't have to live the past, it is gone. Paccupannancha, whatever is present at this very moment, I must mindfully look at that particular mental state. Vipassati means seeing. Vipassati means seeing in a very special way. The special way is the way of in the by way of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness. Impermanence, anicca, dukkha, anatta. So what happened in the past, it was done when I was unmindful, when I was confused, when I was under the influence of certain things. And now, this moment, mind is not under the same influence. Now mind is, I am trying hard to liberate the mind from such unwholesome mental states. So this moment I am doing something very good, and that is what I must repeat. So the Buddha said, many places he said many beautiful things. Yasa papam katang kammam kusalena pitiyati. So imang lokam pabhaseti abbhamutto chandima. When one has done something incorrect, wrong, papa, one must do more wholesome things to overcome that or to make up for the unwholesome thing that the person has done in the past. Such a person shines like the moon free from clouds, Buddha said. So when the remorse arises in the mind, these are the things we have to do. Just becoming, feeling guilty, regret, full of remorse, and so forth is not going to help us. We have to understand our shortcoming, and we have to make new commitment to develop our wholesome mental state. Even among fourfold efforts, one effort is to prevent unnourished and unwholesome mental state. Remorse is an unwholesome state which was not in the mind. When it arises, when remorse is not in the mind, one must know that there is no remorse. Our mind is peaceful, calm, relaxed. I continue. If remorse all of a sudden arises, then one must overcome it by making effort, exerting energy, then arouse wholesome mental state and maintain a wholesome mental state, and so forth. So there are various ways of overcoming remorse. Actually, it happens almost naturally when we are not mindful. When we are really mindful in what we are doing right now, focusing mind on impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness, then the mind is fully charged with that particular mental state. The moment the mind drifts away from that and remember the past, unwholesome things can arise. And therefore, this through training you can overcome that, surely. Okay?
Okay, Bhante, next question. Is the internal confidence that is experienced in the second jhana related to the confidence that we develop in the triple gem?
Yes, actually confidence, that was a good question. Confidence arises in the second jhana because you started with the trust in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. You have the confidence in the Buddha through understanding. As you practice meditation, the truth reveals to you by itself naturally, then your trust in the Buddha also becomes strong. The deeper you understanding the Dhamma, stronger is your confidence in the Buddha. So in the first jhana, you have overcome your hindrances. As Buddha mentioned, if you follow the instructions as the Buddha gave us, and then you begin to see the results in yourself. That is called pacchattam veditabbo vinyuhi. Every wise individual sees the truth within oneself. As your hindrances fades away, slowly and gradually, your wholesome mental state arises, joy, happiness, concentration arises, mind becomes more and more peaceful. This you experience within yourself. And this is what the Buddha said. When you see within you the truth, then you have more and more confidence in the Buddha and in the Dhamma and also in the Sangha, those who have followed this path. And therefore, once you have overcome hindrances, attain the first jhana, that gives you enough reason to be more confident. And then you trust the Buddha and you begin to feel thrilled seeing the truth. Then inner confidence develops. Ajjattang sampasadana. Pasadana means purifying, cleaning, clearing. Like when you put certain things into water, I think there are certain pills you put into water to purify water. When you put that particular chemical into water, while you are watching, you can see water becoming clear and clear and clear. Then water becomes clean. That kind of cleanliness is called pasada, sampasada. Also, when you keep even a cup of muddy water still on a flat ground for a while, you can see the sediment settles down and water is clear. Then you see the clarity of water. Similarly, when the mind is clear, clean, pure, confidence arises in you. That is called ajjhatang sampasadana. That is how confidence arises. Okay?
Okay,
Next question.
next question is, dear Bhante, how do we handle unwholesome karma, such as spraying for insects like roaches or fruit flies or killing mice that are harmful to the health of the person and of the family? We have to use chemicals to remove them because of sanitation purposes. Can we send prayers and metta for their liberation? How do we handle the karma in this case?
How you
For
avoid.
example, how do you handle negative karma that comes about, for example, when you use chemicals to spray cockroaches or bugs, things like that? Cockroaches can bring diseases. And so some people feel like they have to sanitize, and this will kill the cockroaches, and this gives negative karma. What should people do? Should they send metta for the bugs, pray for the bugs? How do we handle this negative karma?
I think people, as the society becomes more and more sophisticated, they introduce all kind of chemicals to destroy lives. But if we are more mindful, more compassionate, more what you call have deeper what you call situational awareness, we can avoid killing. For instance, if your kitchen from the very beginning, from the very start of your kitchen, you clean it very neatly, sweep, mop, and clean the tables and so forth, using soap and so forth, or whatever you clean. And then cockroaches or other insects will not get there. They don't come there. They come if only if there's a food particles in the kitchen. That is how cockroaches, population increase. We have to keep it clean to prevent it. Without doing our part first, when they come, then you use all sort of things. And therefore, the first thing we have to keep it clean. Secondly, there are certain things that you can put in the area where cockroaches, and then they don't come close. For instance, this eucalyptus oil. If you put a drop, no cockroaches come close to it, because it gives a very hard odor for their nose, and for us also it is strong. They don't come. So there are preventive measures, and if we learn, if these chemists who develop various things to kill, if they learn a way to develop certain chemicals to prevent such insect population increasing, then though you don't have to kill. So we have to think of ways of preventing, avoiding, deterring, discouraging them coming into your area. I think that is what I should say in order to prevent or help people not committing unwholesome karma.
Yes, thank you, Bhante. Peppermint oil works really well for mice.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, next question, Bhante. Can you explain the difference between kamma and kamma pata? Between kamma and kamma pata.
Karma and karma pata. I see. Karma pata is the way towards committing karma, and karma itself is the commitment. One is the path, other is the commitment. So you just in the four stages of mind I mentioned, anusaya, pariuttana, kammapata and kamma. Anusaya is sleeping, dormant, inactive state. Pariuttana means active state, getting up from sleeping state, awakening state, pariuttana. Then vitikama or kammapata is the direction going towards the committing, and karma is executing that process, final execution of that mental process through words, through thoughts, and through deeds. So we commit karma by way of talking, thinking, and using the body. And all these things begin from that state. And that last stage is karma. Previous three stages are, the third stage is karma pata, going in that direction. That's called karma pata. It is also called viti karma. Viti means road, karma means going. It comes from the root kamu. Kamu is to go, root. Viti karma means going in the same viti or direction or path to commit the karma. I think, Chaturi, if there is any other question which requires yes or no answer, you can ask me that.
I'm not sure if it's yes or no answer. There's one more question, and then there's another one. So if it doesn't get answered this time, please ask it again next week. So I'll go quickly through the next question. So the person is saying that they can work on their own mind, but they cannot purify the mind of others, and they can create their own karma, and then they reap the result of that karma. It comes back only to them, but it doesn't affect the other person. So there seems to be like a very sharp differentiation between me and the rest of the world. How is that me not a self? Because there is this sharp divide. So how is that not self?
I think question itself is very long.
Okay, so save it for next week.
If I were to say, answer it in brief, I must say that what you commit is your karma. If because of your karma somebody else commits a karma, that is that person's karma, and you are not responsible for the other person's karma. You are responsible for your karma. Because you have intention to commit something. If the other person has intention to commit something, whoever has intention, that person is responsible for that person's intentional commitment. So, suppose I'm giving a Dhamma talk, I'm explaining things with good intention to make people understand. If somebody misunderstand and misinterpret, that is unwholesome for that person. That person's intention was not very clean and clear, and my intention is pure, that person's intention is not pure. And therefore, I commit wholesome karma, that person commits unwholesome karma. I am not responsible for his unwholesome karma. I am responsible for my wholesome karma. That's how I have to answer this question. And thank you very much. Let me end this session with my regular metta wish. That is also wonderful, wholesome karma, metta wish. May all those who are in hospitals suffering from various diseases, may they recover very soon, return to normal life, continue their Dhamma practice and liberate from samsaric suffering. May all the doctors, nurses, hospital staffs who are sacrificing their comfort, sacrificing their energy, even risking their own life out of compassion for these people, may they continue their wonderful service and live long in good health and finally liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. May all those who have lost their loved ones and have been grieving, may they be free from such griefs and return to normal life, continue their Dhamma practice and attain liberation. All those who are supporting various wholesome projects in various places may continue their wonderful service and attain liberation. Those who are in trouble spots in various places, under various unfortunate situations, politics, economics, wars and so forth, may they find peace, and may metta comes to those people who aggravate situations, and may they all find peace, liberation from samsara and attain nibbana. With this, I want to wish all of you peace, happiness and liberation from samsara. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you,
One
Bhante.
Saranai.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
On the talks.
Bye.
Really appreciate.
Thank you, Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah.
Everyone, Saranai.
Thank you, Bhante.
It was a nice one, Master.
Good night.